Whereas we go to this tournament where you are asking these teams that are in such a mile gap in terms of talent rosters to not only win once, but multiple times over. They're going to end the season on a bad note regardless, and we're going to be talking about them as first or second round outs, how they didn't deserve in the playoff, all these negatives to take away from what is, at the end of the day, an incredible season. And I'm trying to find a solution to uplift these group of five teams and be of support of them because, frankly, I love group of five football. I watch it all the time. And it's unfortunate that we're stuck in this vortex of talking about whether or not they should be in the playoff when we could be celebrating some of their best moments. Should the group of five have their own playoff? Should the group of five be in the college football playoff? Should the group of five even be in the conversations for national championship contention? That is what everyone is talking about because we had Oregon dominate James Madison. I understand you may be already typing up, well, they put up 30 on him. Congratulations, you still got dominated for 4 quarters and Oregon put up 51. The game was never in doubt. The game was never any kind of fear incited into Oregon. If anything, Oregon looked at this as a travesty on how they didn't put up 70 and blow them out by 40. But congratulations, James Madison. You know, they had a fantastic season. And I do not want that to get lost on everyone in terms of what we should be talking about with the college football playoff. Because unfortunately, people like myself and many others want to talk about the group of five in general. And what is the next playoff? And the playoff after that, what is the format going to look like when we're looking at whether or not they should be in? And the truth is, I don't think that they should unless they've earned it. And based on this format, they have. But at the end of the day, this format needs to change. It just has to change. When we're talking about teams that are barely top 25, getting a charity case bid because we feel that we need to be at the same level of college basketball and believe that Cinderellas are real, we have now wedged a square peg into a triangle hole. There's no way to talk about it in any other fashion because unfortunately we're going to have to talk about Tulane getting smacked around by Ole Miss for the second time this season, James Madison getting smacked around by Oregon as expected, instead of how incredible their seasons have gone and how remarkable that is. And frankly, you can't put the genie back in the bottle because the solution to fix all of this is not having this expanded playoff at all. It's so funny. And Chris, this is for you. It is so funny the amount of people that are so close to realizing that the solution was never to expand the playoff. I see time and time again the amount of people that have posted these blowouts from all the other Power 4 programs in the early rounds of the playoff to justify why the group of five getting blown out isn't that big of a deal. The truth is, that's so close to my point on why you shouldn't expand the playoff because there's not 8+ teams that are contending for the national championship. And I know what your rebuttal is. I know exactly where you're going to go when you say, oh, well, Ohio State was a back end seed and they went on a run. They won the national championship. To me, I don't think Ohio State should have had the opportunity to be playing for a national championship. If we just cut them off at the end of the regular season, they kind of got handed a golden opportunity to go win the whole thing and they took advantage of it. But you lost to Oregon and then you lost egregiously to Michigan. And at the end of the day, neither of those losses really mattered in the grand scheme of things. They didn't have to go to a Big Ten championship. They didn't have an opportunity to prove themselves as a team worthy for the national championship. They kind of got to moonwalk their way through the regular season, have a couple bumps in the road, one against their biggest rival, and it didn't matter. They still were able to go beat Tennessee. They were able to go on the run, and they were the Cinderella that no one wanted. But people time and time again continue to get so close to the point of, wow, we really don't have that many elite teams that need to be fighting for the national championship, the group of five included, because if you shrink down the amount of playoff spots, there's more value to be placed on the other bowl games, the more impressive tier 2 bowl games that used to exist in college football. And we could be talking about those opportunities. Like the BCS bowls were the tier 2s, and we got to have incredible moments like Boise State going and beating Oklahoma. Those moments that we talk about, they end their season with an incredible win that we talk about for years. Instead, if they manage to pull off an incredible win, we're going to be talking about them as a team that's going to be a second round out because they're not going to be able to string along multiple wins. You're delusional if you think otherwise. And I could sit here and go in circles and circles and talk about time and time again how the group of 5 shouldn't be in the playoff. They're playing a different brand of football, that this, that, and the third. And as, I guess, rudimentary or like repetitive as that may sound, I'd rather talk about some of the solutions that we could actually implement. What are the solutions for the group of 5? Because I think the way that it goes, unfortunately, with how unimpressive the JMUs and the Tulanes of the world were this recent college football playoff run, it has been, I guess, the final nail in the coffin for the group of 5. And so I see 3 main solutions for the group of 5 moving forward. The unlikely option, but the one that I would be the biggest fan of as someone that is a huge fan of soccer, relegation is perfectly set up. If there is one sport in America that could adopt the relegation system, it's college football. With the amount of teams that they have, the amount of conferences that they have, frankly, it's impossible to pull off at this point with the amount of TV rights deals, and there wouldn't be a world where the Power 4 teams that are already in that cutoff would ever risk their opportunity to potentially get relegated. But it would be the perfect solution to fix all of this. But if you don't know what relegation is, basically the worst teams of certain conferences, say you're the worst team in the Big 12, you could get relegated to the Sun Belt. And if you win the Sun Belt, you have an opportunity to get uplifted to the Big 12. There would be that scenario. I think it's impossible, but I always want to mention it because I do think it's an incredible solution to this problem. I think the most realistic one is the Notre Dame clause. Notre Dame, after they got, in their words, screwed over, after they got snubbed in the college football playoff, there is now a clause that is in effect in terms of them having a guaranteed spot in the playoff as long as they make it into the top 12, which to me is egregious. But if you apply that for the group of 5, it may actually work. I mean, truly, as we look back in college football history, you know a good group of 5 team when you see it. We talk about Boise State a lot. We talked about Cincinnati when they made it to the top 4. They earned that right to go to the college football playoff. Let these teams earn that right and opportunity because, frankly, JMU, as much of an incredible season as they had and getting this opportunity to go to Autzen Stadium, they didn't play a Power 4 or a top 50 power rated team the entire season, whereas we see teams like Texas, teams like Notre Dame, teams like BYU, Vanderbilt go through these gauntlets, and for them to be on the outside looking in is quite unfortunate. It is at the end of the day. And the last solution that I think is semi-realistic, but not very likely just due to some of, I guess, the egos for both sides, is the group of 5 playoff. Now, I've talked about it on this page time and time again. I think the group of 5 playoff makes a ton of sense. I think the group of 5 having something to play for, it is not an indictment on them not getting an opportunity to play for the big thing. I mean, frankly, I think you could have a mix of, if they make it into the top 12, let them play for the big dance. But everyone else, you go into a different tournament, and then there's so many other teams that are competing, and some of the top end group of 5 matchups would be incredible. I mean, we could see Tulane and JMU go head to head for a championship if they were to go win the whole thing. And I think that would be a lot more enticing. I think that would be a lot more competitive. And I think that would be better for the sport to be able to have a mini tournament between some of the top group of 5 teams to really showcase. And let's call a spade a spade. It would be a grand showcase of some of the talent that's more than likely going to go play in the Power 4. I think that would be incredible, but there would also have to be a long line of different changes to best get college football set up for success moving forward outside of some of these processes to get certain teams in. But listen, I think the biggest thing I think people need to understand when talking about the group of five is the idea of a Cinderella in college football is not realistic. It's just not, especially since we went to a tournament form. A BCS matchup, a one-off, a bowl game with a group of five matchup versus a Power 4 team, that worked. That worked because when you saw a good group of five team get this opportunity, more times than not, you would get this big chance where either A, you see number one, a team is able to pull off the big upset. That's the end of their season. They are a bowl winner. They're the Orange Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, whatever it may be. And their season ends on a high note. Whereas we go to this tournament where you are asking these teams that are in such a mile gap in terms of talent rosters to not only win once, but multiple times over. They're going to end the season on a bad note regardless, and we're going to be talking about them as first or second round outs, how they didn't deserve in the playoff, all these negatives to take away from what is, at the end of the day, an incredible season. And I'm trying to find a solution to uplift these group of five teams and be of support of them because, frankly, I love group of five football. I watch it all the time. And it's unfortunate that we're stuck in this vortex of talking about whether or not they should be in the playoff when we could be celebrating some of their best moments.